See the scenic and beautiful Hudson Yards from our window,
Yeah.
which if you're not from New York, you don't know that that's actually a little bit, I'm being ironic. Hudson Yards is
You are being ironic.
giant, slabby, generic mega project that they slopped into the 30s.
Yes.
And so here we are. So we're going to give it one more minute, and I'm going to share this deck.
I think this is going to be really valuable to people.
Have you ever done a webinar before?
Probably.
No, this is true.
I don't know.
I don't know if I have. I know we've done
I've been the guest on a couple.
We've live streamed things. It happens. It does happen as you get older.
Yeah.
So welcome to our webinar. You know what? I'll get the thingy up.
Yeah, let's do
it. Here we go. And if there's any other headphones floating around, there's like a little echo in the room. I'm talking to Gabe, who's off screen as our producer.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you see him, Gabe, but I'm definitely hearing it.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's see if I can get the previews out of the way. Okay, so I'm looking at Gabe. Are we ready to go for our webinar? Okay. Well,
what's your name?
No, we're going to get there. It's in the back. Relax.
Shit.
And we're going to give people instructions on how to talk, all this stuff. It's going to be good. So let's start with who we are. We have to sit very close because of the way the camera works. We don't usually sit this close, and the joke I just made is it's a lot like of Mice and Men right now. Like I look like I should be petting a rabbit, but nonetheless, we are the co-founders of a board. That is what kind of candy is that, Rich?
Nerds.
Those are nerds. They're very good. And or do you like them?
I did, as when I was 7.
It's just a sugar blast, right?
It's tart and sugary. They're good. They're good.
Okay, so. There are some nerds. That's us. And Rich, you introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Rich Ziade. I'm the CEO of a board. I'm pretty much a serial entrepreneur. I've had a couple companies, built a company with Paul, a well-known agency in New York City called Postlight. Startup guy, product thinker, I would say more than anything. But I love tech. I'm a nerd. Full disclosure.
And I'm the president. Rich is our CEO. I think I report to you, but we're not going to talk about that. I am a slightly less veteran entrepreneur in that I was a journalist for many, many years, and then I started the agency with Rich, but I was also always a technologist. And so I love building things, and I've built things sort of my whole career, and I like writing about building things, and I like sharing about building things. So it's nice that we're here. And I think relevant to this conversation, we've worked with hundreds of organizations. We've probably worked with organizations like yours. And so we're going to share kind of how we see AI, which is probably a little, maybe less software-centric than a lot of people do, and ways that you can kind of take advantage of stuff with all these new technologies. Oh, yeah, we've worked with hundreds of organizations over thousands of years. Rich and I are each 2,000 years old. So it's pretty cool. This is not a marketing webinar. I'm going to talk about our product for one slide, and then we're actually going to leave it alone for the rest of it. You're welcome to check it out. We have built over the last year a AI accelerated business software development platform. I'll say those words. It is for it's for creating business apps. You go in, you type in a prompt, it builds the first version of the app, and then there are tools that help you evolve that into proper business software that teams can use. So think things like CRMs and ERP tools and complicated stuff. Today, if you want to work with us, you partner. We help you build custom solutions, sort of like a really, really accelerated agency. We can move 10 times faster than we used to when we were running an agency together. What is evolving is that the tools we're building are more for teams to use themselves. We may not necessarily be in the mix in the future, and you may just be licensing our software and using it. We're building that sort of wave of the company today. We're in the market. We have clients. We do things. We have an office. And I think critically for this conversation, Rich, we're riding the same wave as everybody else. We are a little bit ahead as technologists than maybe many organizations are. We have gone pretty deep into this stuff. But I would say we're 6 months to a year ahead, not decades ahead. This is all happening really fast to everyone. It happened to us. We had to pivot our organization to deal with AI. And so that's what we're sharing here today. We're sharing that context. Last thing I want to say before we really get to the meat of this is this is a place. It's not just a software company. We built a very lovely office. It's in New York City on Park Ave. Park Avenue South. I should actually be really clear. I should be very clear about that. It's very different. And it's a physical place to host small events and gatherings. And the reason we built it this way is because people, especially in New York City, kind of aren't ready for what's next. We realized about 18 months ago that this was going to be a transformative technology. It was going to be able to make a lot of things move a lot faster, but that maybe where the Valley was really leaned in, New York and a lot of other parts of the world are not. And so we made a good space, and this webinar, which we both hate the word webinar, probably everybody hates the word webinar, but this is an extension of that place. We want it to feel very open, and we want it to be conversational. So who are you? Who do we think you are? We think that you're probably pretty technology and software aligned. You're doing some software stuff. We think you have bosses, customers, clients, users. You're sort of in the mix just like we are. We think you have a lot of experiences and a lot of questions that you should drop into the chat at any time. And what we're going to do is we're going to move pretty quickly. We'll get this thing done in about a half hour to 40 minutes, and then we'll have some time to answer and respond. People are kind of watching the chat and organizing the questions, so they'll pop up on screen at the end, and we will take them and talk about them, and we really do like conversation. So this is Q1-Q4 AI, the next year of AI in business. Rich, I don't think it should actually be called that.
No?
I think it should be called So Your Boss Read an Article. I mean, you take it. Let me stop talking for a minute.
Let's let everyone digest this adorable little comic.
Your cousin sent us this.
Yeah. What do we want? AI to do what? No clue. We don't know. But they want it now. And this is, look, good executives are anxious people. They're paranoid people, and they don't want to be left out of the party.
But they don't know what, they tend to think like, hey, we can just fire everybody in engineering, right? That's one of the things they say.
It's one of them.
They can say,
I want to save millions of dollars. I'm going to automate everything.
They think in terms of speed, and they think in terms of streamlining, and that's actually not how we see it after going really deep on the tech. And actually, as we talk to more and more CTOs and CIOs, they're having this conversation. CEOs like, hey, we don't need to hire any more engineers. And they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So it's a little more complicated than a lot of people want to take it out to be. So let's go quarter by quarter. And when we originally started to put this together, I was thinking very prediction oriented. Like, I think it'll get here. I think it'll get there. But I actually think that, Rich sat me down. We had a good conversation. He's like, this isn't about specific tools and things that are going to happen to AI or whatever. This is about getting cultural change into organizations big and small.
That's right.
So the number one thing to do, and this was your call, he's like, you got to go into these orgs. You got to remove the stigma around these tools. So let me let you talk about these for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, people are using it. They may be using it to whip up a recipe or look up something.
No, but at least 1 billion people are using it. Like,
everybody's using it.
Yeah.
And it's a funny dynamic when you're kind of hiding that you're using it, the same way a student wants to hide that they're using it because you want your boss to think that you're working real hard, and AI lets you take a lot of shortcuts. And so measuring use is kind of weird. We're in a weird no man's land. And what you got to do as a leader in your org is tell everybody, please use it. You should use it. It's okay if you use it. We're glad you saved time. Now, we'll get to what do you do with the rest of your time, but no one should hide about the fact that they smartly used these new tools. It's okay. That's step one. Because the truth is, as we go through this webinar,
sorry, man, it's not my
we're going to
fault.
highlight the shortcomings. And if you can't talk, if you don't know they're using it, they're not going to talk to you about what's going wrong. So remove the stigma. Encourage people to use it.
And we did this. We did this 18 months ago. We saw we were building a certain version of our product. It was pre-AI. We saw what was going to happen to our industry, and we saw what was going to happen to our product. And our reaction wasn't to immediately change everything, but Rich, myself, and our head of technology every single day met for an hour and talked about what we had done for hours with LLMs.
What are we learning? As much as what we had done.
We shared artifacts,
Yep.
we shared processes, and then we used that to guide the next set of decisions that we made for the company. And I think this is critical because you're being marketed so much transformation and so much change.
Yeah.
But your org is still your org. And how do you use AI is kind of the wrong question.
That's almost like saying, how do I use this surgical tool? Come on in, patient. Like, not a good way to start things. The truth is, your company's goals haven't changed. You're still trying to do whatever you're trying to do. Improve margin, reduce errors or mistakes, accelerate process, all the usual stuff that companies need to do and focus on. So how can it help is the better question. Can you help me with these new tools is the better question, rather than like, what are we doing about AI?
Well, and I think the question just came up around instincts, right? The instinct that you have for how to use a computer to put information in and get information out or do word processing or so on and so forth doesn't really apply. LLMs don't work like most computer things work, which was you'd put stuff in and then if it wasn't right, it would break. And eventually you'd figure out how to put the right stuff in to get the results you wanted. You can put anything in and you can get anything out, and you have to, and I think in a second...
They don't throw errors.
No, we're going to, and that was our struggle for like a year, was we couldn't get consistent computer style behavior out of LLMs in order to build our tool. And eventually we learned, and we'll talk about it, it's guardrails. So instincts aren't really, like, you don't get organic instincts because this thing can always come up with anything. You sort of develop a set of guardrails and principles. So, and the other thing is you have to kind of push back against marketing. Everybody's marketing tools to you. You want to think in goals. You want to think and this is sort of you pushing back, right? Don't pilot. Don't say you're going to go out there and create like a pilot program. AI isn't special. It's software, right? And anything you launch is going to have technical debt, bugs, and maintenance, and require maintenance. Like
in fact, it's a little more slippery than that. Bugs that fire off clear errors or clear mistakes, you can address. AI is very shady. Like it'll play games. It'll speak confidently about outcomes, and you may think it summarized the pile of documents, but it may have missed some key things, and it's not going to tell you that. It's not going to throw an error.
So you're going to, as a leader, you're going to say, hey, everyone, we're going to stick to the plan. We're going to accelerate things on the roadmap. We're not going to look for novelty. And everyone's going to be really bummed out because everything that you just said wasn't fun.
It's not fun. I mean, improving margins isn't fun. Being more efficient isn't fun. Those aren't fun things.
This is real. It's funny. The questions are every one of them becomes a slide later. But yes, Jody. Hi, Jody. This is getting the workflows right is actually really hard, and it has to be collaborative. That 3-month period was essential for our business. And it was very awkward for us. We don't like to slow down. We like to build. We like to keep our little hands busy, and we like to sell and make decks and write code and release stuff. And we had to go think for a couple of months because it was so weird.
Yeah, I think, look, a useful analogy here for a moment is if you hire someone and they happen to be extremely energetic and extremely versatile in their capabilities, you still put them on guardrails. You still give them a job. You can't just, you don't want them surprising you with new stuff.
And so define what you're going to do, right? Don't review the plan. This is all normal stuff. And know what AI is good for. It's good as a coach, an explainer, a summarizer, report generator. You need to develop your own opinion about your own business on these categories. AI is a really good coach for programming tasks. It's a really good coach for, it's a really good explainer when you want to understand a technical subject or you need to know something about taxes. It's a great summarizer of legal documents. You need to prove these things out for yourself. You can do it really, really quickly. That part's good. The next slide is very special. Do you know who that is?
Orville Redenbacher.
It is Henry Gantt with 2 T's. That is the inventor of the Gantt chart. And I don't think I've ever seen anyone who looks more like the thing they invented.
Off this frame is him holding a red Solo cup.
Yeah, that's right. He's actually just absolutely at a
Yeah.
rager right there.
Yeah.
So a question that people ask or that is implied, and again, the marketing message is, you are too late. You've missed AI. It's over. That's not true, and it's not true for two reasons. One is you're never too late. People are being born. They're not too late.
We've seen how tech gets marketed by fueling anxiety, that you missed the boat, and so you better get on it. And this is probably one of the most extreme examples of it. AI, the AI wave, the AI revolution. They use the word revolution a lot.
Oh, don't panic for two reasons. One is just don't panic. The tech industry is full of it, and they're always trying to sell you something. You can relax and learn just like anybody else can. There's lots of people coming into this field today. But the second thing is that technology has started to plateau. And there's a lot of statistics about this. I won't belabor them, but something like GPT-5 is really only like a few percentage points better. It's more consistent. It might be more reliable, but you're not seeing these ridiculous step changes. There was that moment a couple years ago where suddenly you typed in a question and the answer was really good, or something like deep research showed up and it wrote really good 10,000 word research reports. And those were kind of shocking moments. There aren't a ton of those on the horizon in quite the same way, where people are, and in fact, what you're seeing are more and more products emerging out of around AI, as opposed to just these radically new LLMs sort of popping up every day. So you're right on time. You can take a breath and you can think about the next year. And everybody who tells you that that's too long is kind of full of it. You have a minute. And so let's talk a little bit. How are we on time? I just want to keep my eye on it.
Keep on trucking.
No, there's no time on this thing. Okay. Oh, Gabe is wow. He just moved his fingers a lot. I think that was the number 17.
I have a watch.
Okay, great. So, Rich.
Yes, sir.
You told me I wasn't allowed to buy any software, and I love buying software, man. I like talking to vendors.
You can buy some software.
Oh, I can go shopping.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully you've wrapped your shopping experience in the context of a business goal, that you're not just like, whoa, this is cool.
Well, of course you did, because we told you to.
Yes. Now, if we make that assumption, yeah, you're going to need these tools. And there are a lot of specialized tools, and Paul's going to talk about that in a minute. But the truth is, even the general purpose tools are extremely good at a lot of specialized things. I mean, you can use any of the tools to do almost anything.
I also wouldn't freak out too bad about, like, should I use Perplexity or Claude or
They're quite similar.
Yeah, just use them. Use them. They all have limits.
Yeah.
It gets real specific when you're comparing which one is better than the other.
Correct.
Just get good at one and figure out, develop that into
Also,
it.
the surrounding functionality that they decorate around the prompt is important. Like, establishing context for different kinds of threads and projects, as Claude calls them or whatnot, are very useful.
We're starting to see more industry-specific stuff, like Harvey is sort of the obvious example.
There's
for
tons
legal.
of them, yeah.
There's tons. Go do that homework. It's your vertical, right? Like, your industry is going to have tools. But again, I've now said this like 5 times. I didn't intend to, but don't believe marketing, because people will tell you that everything does everything, and it doesn't. Things work, and there's a lot of progress to be made. But you need to try things out and benchmark. And that's one reason why you kind of need a year for this transition. You have to know the limits of your tools. And then there's a word, we actually joke that it's the drinking game inside of a board, because everything we talk about comes down to the concept of guardrails. Because, like, I'll give you ours. We have 3 guardrails. I just wrote about them in our newsletter. And it's that the output should be assumed to be nonsense. It may not be, but you can't trust, right? You have to actually verify somehow that what an LLM produces is meaningful. You should always aim to summarize, because that's more predictable. You should always be looking for ways to turn less into, or more into less. And you should target one data structure. It's pretty nerdy. We're a software company, but that's how we see it. Your guardrails are going to be different. If you're legal, it's going to be summarize and outline, never draft, or insurance, never touch policies, or whatever. It's going to be for your org. You're going to want these guardrails and these policies, and you should also be sharing them with each other. Share them with us in the chat if you have any. But this, I think, is the real conversation around AI, because we're starting to realize that it can produce almost anything, but not necessarily the right thing. And that last mile is pretty long. And it all comes down to these rules and systems that we're building. And there's no consistent way to share them. You could have prompts on GitHub, or you can talk about them or whatever. But this is where the work is going to be. This was actually, you brought this up, so let me stop talking again.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so now you're rolling. You're trying stuff. You've encouraged your teams to play around and learn and show you stuff. Show me how this can make things better. And then you sign off on a couple of things. Success here it's a funny thing because the tools today are not deeply embedded inside of your infrastructure. They're in users' hands. And to what can look really exciting and cool to a user may actually turn out to be not that great of an outcome for the org. And I'll give you an example with programming. A lot of code is getting generated by AI today. And what you're hearing more and more of is like, yeah, it churned out a lot, but I'm spending just as much time, if not more, cleaning it up, debugging it, trying to understand it, right? And so the broader business goals haven't changed. Everyone's telling you that throw them away, the world's different, agents are going to run around your machines and do everything. But the truth is they're the same goals, right? So how do you quantify that better outcome? It's the same classic metrics you use for your org. AI is a means to an end. I think that goes back to we want AI. That's speaking of it as an end in itself.
Yeah, it's a lot like blockchain that way, and that everybody with blockchain is like, it's going to be on the blockchain. And if you're a technologist and you didn't love blockchain, which is us, you're like, this is an extremely slow database that doesn't work really well.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a way to do that with AI. You could make AI into a really slow, really messy way to get your work done.
Yeah.
That is disappointing to everybody and lets everybody down. So instead, go back to the business you're in and make that business better. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about next. So first thing to get out of the way, failure's allowed, right? So you're trying to build a culture here, and you need to allow people. Things are going to slip through the guardrails. And so you need safe places to work. If you're summarizing legal documents, you better be sure that doesn't like immediately go into a courtroom without somebody seeing you're looking at the outputs or things like that. But this is sort of a subtle point, but it's a really important one, which is when you use these tools a lot, and you'll find this as you set up your team and you let them explore and play, it's really easy to grind with this stuff. It's really easy to just kind of like get into a loop and decide that you're going to fix it at the prompt and you're going to edit the prompt and you're going to get everything just right. I'm seeing this a lot with vibe coding projects. If you go on, describe the Reddit experience of vibe coding.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, I think here's what hurts. It's the plot twist. It gets you so close. So you're like, I can touch it. I can almost touch it. And then for whatever reason, what you thought was just a couple of inches away ends up being a mile away. And that is because it really shines at that first impression because it's so buttoned up. It looks so buttoned up and impressive out of the gate. But the truth is getting the thing over the line, you have to do hard work. And that could be a long legal memo that you let it draft, but now you're finding that, hey, some of these turned out to be wrong, and now I got to read all of it. I mean, or the code worked mostly, but now I got to somehow sort out this security issue that bubbled up.
It's also a really psychologically hard transition. Like you go into this world and it's doing so much for you and it feels like you have so much control and it's very intense. Like you're just kind of like eating nougat.
It's a temptation. I mean, it's a temptation that, oh my God, I think I might be able to clear this problem that's been nagging at us for months.
And now you're telling me to like switch back to a word processor or switch back to a code editor and do it the way I used to do it in order to finish it up. Or that the last 3 hours that looked like I had just done 3 months of work are meaningless. That's a really hard thing for people to process. You need to kind of keep iterating or reminding them over and over again that they're smarter, that this is actually a tool, it is software, and even though they're having that feeling and that emotion, it's really normal. But this stuff actually can kind of get into your brain and you can decide you're going to solve every problem with it, and it can kind of wreck a week. It can wreck a month.
But back to the title of that slide, failure is allowed, meaning that's okay. Let people play, let them see where the limitations are. Demystify this technology.
They're gonna need to learn from firsthand experience. You can't. The thing I just described, I don't know if there's any way to teach it. You just have to really get excited about Claude or ChatGPT, and then realize how badly it's let you down, and then you start to understand why these things need guardrails.
And then you zoom in on the value steps along the way, and then you're able to leverage that.
So now, at this point, we're sort of into the year. We're well into the year, and this is when it started to feel like work. This is what it felt like for us, right? Like you're no longer just constantly exploring this new wonder tool. It actually gets bland. It becomes a technology, and you're like, I know what it can do. I know what it can't do. Every now and then it'll surprise you, and every now and then it'll disappoint you. But it should be baked into your process. Like for me, I'm in sales, and I don't take a meeting unless I run this one particular prompt. Provides a nice industry briefing. I also know where it falls short. I know it will never sort of fill in a missing gap. It's not as smart as a person in some ways, but it's really good at telling me
quick research.
It's about a person's industry, and it gives me lots and lots of detail, and about a company, and so it's really good. People should share prompts. Prompts are not as proprietary as everybody would like them to be. Every now and then you can sort of strike gold, but there really isn't this like magic prompt that unlocks something. Everybody should be sharing. You should feel free to share publicly unless there's like real value or it's really confidential. But like,
these are tips essentially that you could share amongst each other.
It's good. It's kind of good material. It's good content, but you're building this culture, and this is the culture of making stuff. The culture of making stuff with AI is at the prompt, and you should manage them, right? And we don't do as good a job at this. Nobody does a good job at this right now, but they should be managed like programs. They should be versioned. You should be able to share them. Ideally, there's a little bbit of a library. You find these online, but I don't know of any organization that's really building a culture around like, hey, let me go get a prompt to get that kind of thing started. Or it's everybody's kind of got them flying around. It's sort of like back in the old days when everyone just had a shared drive filled with random documents, right? So that's where we're at. If you can find ways to manage them well and build culture around them, maybe there's tools, share it, because we're trying to figure it out too. And at this stage, right, we're in Q3, you should be doing what you were a few years ago somewhere, but it should be faster. You really should start to see speed. We're seeing speed. Like, there's a lot of pros and cons to this technology, but the reality is just like, we see things get more stable and faster in the code base we're building at a much steadier clip, and we're seeing fewer people do more. And you should be able to measure that and see that as well. But also, things take time. You got to sort of like, and this is, I think, we want to just riff on this for a minute, and I'll throw this to you, Richard. But like, you can be, you can go so quickly with this stuff, and it can feel so magical that you actually can really forget to take a step back. And actually, planning becomes more and more and more and more important because you can generate so many outputs so quickly. So you need to be very strategic about the use of the technology and also how it's going to fit into the real goals of the organization. One of the ways that we see a lot of people doing this, we do this too, is to really start thinking in terms of specification first. And this is just a generic picture from GitHub, but like you're going to start to see this over the next year. We've plateaued, and we need to get more value out of these things, and we need our prompts are all over the place, and so on and so forth. What's happening is people are realizing that slightly longer prompt style, sort of more traditional documents, which we're calling collectively specifications, are really good ways to guide projects. They enhance the context. So I don't know, let me throw that to you. Riff for a second on specs.
So, I think a good way to frame this is that when you put in a few sentences in a prompt, imagine you had an all-star team of, let's say for a moment here, designers, product managers, engineers ready to go. And you put an hour aside to kick off a project. And then you walked in and you said 3 sentences and walked out.
That is the dream of the CEO, though, right?
It is the dream. And you just drop the mic and leave. There is enormous ambiguity that's been left in that room. Now, direct that towards a machine that essentially plays jazz with data and is like, okay, I gotcha. And we're going to build you a thing, or we're going to write you a document. It's not enough. And in fact, not only is it not enough, it actually can cause damage in both benign and overt ways. Like the damage can actually be very subtle and very hidden away. So how do you mitigate that? And this is the end of the honeymoon period to a large extent. What this is a grand take a few steps back, because what we're finding is that with these tools, when there isn't enough to chew on, it fills in the blanks on its own. And that's not good enough. For business, it's definitely not good enough. It's not good enough for, frankly, a college essay, but it's very dangerous and really not good for business. So when we say let's talk specs, what we're talking about is essentially narrowing the aperture of what you want this thing to do by loading it up with so much context. And specs, what we're calling specs, it could be a memo, it could be a 12-page PDF, helps guide it to make more predictable results. Is it a silver bullet? No, nothing's a silver bullet. But this is now back to human work. You could argue, hey, wait, you know what I'll do? I'll have the AI spit out a spec and I'll feed that spec back into it. I would be very wary of that as well. It's back to square one.
So we see it, right? Because our product, if you go to a board, you can type in prompts. And if you type in, and the prompt will build you business software. And it just deploys and puts it in the cloud just in a nice robotic way. And it's just plain old web software. So people will sometimes put in the words like CRM sneakers. That'll be what you get. Sometimes they'll get like, I need and they'll write like 3 sentences.
Yeah.
If you write like 2 paragraphs carefully saying, this is what I need, this is where I'm at, you'll get very good results. Like very good, like, okay, now
good starting point.
Really
right?
good starting point.
Yeah.
Like just it's something demoable and explorable. People often do exactly what you described. They get the LLM to write the whole spec, and it fills
it back in.
Oh, and it fills in all this detail
Yeah.
about what kind of programming languages should be used and so on.
Yeah.
They jam that into the text box, and then our thing is just like, all right, I'll do the best I can.
Yeah.
And so they mention what programming languages should be, and then it produces all these tables that like help you manage your Elixir artifacts, which have nothing to do with the fact that you were trying to build a CRM for like sneaker trading.
And what you're talking about here is it's a new hire. I mean, AI is a new hire. It's very gung-ho. It'll go and do everything, but it's a new hire. And so what do you do in a hire? You put it through a pretty rigorous orientation. You want it to internalize your company, your processes, your industry before you give it the keys, right? That's what talking with spec means.
So this has been mostly we've been talking about culture and sort of organizational change as opposed to specific predictions. But I would say, and feel free to disagree with me, I think that where we're headed in the next year is more and more conversation about specs, more and more like, oh, you got to write this markdown document. It's got to look like this, and this is the kind of way to write a specification. And when you put it in, you're still kind of making a prompt. It's just a big prompt, and it says, here's the documents I want.
It's encouraging to see. I mean, I think what happened was in the beginning was, oh, I'm so close. Let me keep going. But the horse is out of the barn at that point. Like it's already written 16,000 lines of something. And you're trying to fix it. Change, by the way, and this is a point worth making, changing what already got produced is its own rabbit hole. It has a real hard time navigating the giant thing it just produced. So there's that challenge as well.
That's where most of our work is. Our work is in treating the output of an LLM as data that we can turn into software and making it really behave like a computer behaves. We've made a lot of progress on it, but it was like some of the smartest people I've ever worked with working really hard for a really long time to get incremental progress. Like this part's hard.
Yeah.
The specs, I think, is like a good compromise place. Like Amazon has, what is it, Kiro? So you're going to start to see that. GitHub's going to lean on it. I do think ultimately this stuff all ends up back in the world of data and software and sort of like where we've been for the last 50 years. But for right now, everybody's completely convinced that you can turn words into anything you want, and you probably shouldn't question that. Just keep your eyes open, right? Like it's going to be specs for a while, then it'll be something else. That's what's coming. So it's Q4. The year went by really fast. It went by
playing the holiday party.
Yeah, we actually are kind of good on time. We did good. It's 34. Somebody,
wonderful.
Whoever made this deck is brilliant. And so here we are. It's been a year. We've learned our culture has changed. We've tried a lot of tools. We've summarized legal documents and so on and so forth. And now we're going to launch our AI product and make our boss happy.
Okay.
And now this frickin' guy has told me don't launch an AI product. What does that mean? He's saying launch a product.
Yep.
But that's what this is about. This is not about making a whole new world that looks like AI. That's Sam Altman's dream. I don't think it's your dream. Maybe it is. Maybe that's your problem. Maybe you're Sam Altman. Maybe you're on this call, at which point I would love to talk to you and ask you some questions. But if you're not, you want to do things that you used to do, but you want to do them more quickly, and you want a lower defect rate, and they should be measured and documented and tested. All the things that they told you had to do with your software and your outputs in the past 30 years.
You should do them here.
But that you would never do. You would just kind of find ways to avoid them.
Yeah.
The robot can help you do them, and it can help you do them faster, and it can take some of the pain away. Basically, this thing should only really work if it's a way to sort of slap a Band-Aid onto human laziness and exhaustion. And that's where it's golden. It's so good. And again, we're back to those specs and the prompts and the sharing. You're looking for all 3 quarters. You're looking for repeatable process. Susan just said, but a product is not what stakeholders these days are asking for. Let's take a pause. And let's tell the CEO that they need to calm down. You're good at this.
Am I?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So the CEO, I'll be the CEO. Rich, the company down the street is worth $200 million more than us. And I just talked to them at the country club, and oh my God, they are all in on AI. They're going to fire their whole sales team and their engineering team, and they're going to close all their manufacturing, and they're going to move to Bermuda. So I don't know what you're doing, but it needs to be different. It needs to be AI, and I think you should throw away your whole roadmap and make it better.
Yeah, look, this is the overarching theme of this whole webinar, right? Which is,
and they are saying it. This is real.
They are saying it, and I would put the following forward: they are not that far ahead because of AI, most likely, because we are talking to a lot of organizations right now. No one has deployed a magic orb inside of their org that is leading to millions of dollars in found money. It's not happening. It's just not happening yet. Organizations move slowly. Organizations stubbornly defend the status quo, whether it be a process or the way a team works and whatnot. This stuff is actually quite threatening. So we're like, yeah, go be more efficient. But it's like, wait, if I'm more efficient, I don't need 12 people. I need 5. So the way resistance surfaces is very subtle. And so anyone that's telling you, I found all these amazing breakthroughs, I'd be extremely suspicious. That said, we just walked you through how you can lean on these tools to get to a better place. Now,
let me tell you what I would do. I would go back to the CEO and I would say, I heard you, because you always have to say that. You always have to say, you're great. And then you
lose weight?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you go, I've been out doing research. There are some really, really powerful tools and good things that we can use. But the first thing I did was make I got a 1-year plan, and we're going to be able, and CEOs are funny because they always pretend that they care about growth, but what they really care about is risk. And if you can cut risk, if you can tell them a story where these software projects are going to fail less and the documents are going to be better and you're going to get sued fewer times. And look for those things. Look for the things that actually keep the CEO stays awake at night. She or he stays awake at night going like, oh God, I'm really worried about getting that lawsuit from that company in Illinois because we didn't do it. Can you help there? Can you see ways to move things forward? Can you look for fears and ways to assuage those fears? And then you can also point to growth and excitement. But the reality is, too, and it depends on if you just have a crap CEO who just reads articles, you're kind of out of luck. But otherwise, slapping a chatbot on stuff isn't going to fix it. It's just not going to fix anything. And you have to you have to get used to this stuff and play and practice until you can make that argument credibly yourself. You can ping us. We will help you organize that argument. We'll turn it into newsletter post or podcast content because that's what we do. But we're seeing that exact issue kind of show up everywhere. And just to get back to the last few minutes, right? Go.
I mean, this is a big point. The debugging, QA, no one will say skip QA, skip quality assurance, is very tricky with AI because it can actually pass the tests on a Tuesday and fail them on a Wednesday. That can happen. And that, because it's non-deterministic, you can't just sign off on unit tests and say passed, because it will, depending on the time of day or the weather, give different outcomes, right? And so back to that CEO who's putting pressure on innovating and getting ahead, to Paul's point, you have to highlight that risk. CEOs are results driven, so they don't want to hear about what you can't seem to be able to do. But this is real. There's enough. There are enough stories out in the world of bad outcomes because people move too quickly on
It's
this
funny
stuff.
because this slide does land on it. I keep a little catalog of failures of vibe coding companies because we compete with them. People ask us, like, for a long time, people were like, how are you different than Replit? And I would have to sort of go through a step by step and explain our data and blah, blah, blah. And nobody's asked that since Replit blew away some guy's enterprise database and he wrote about it at length, right?
Yeah.
And not only did it blow it away, it was just like, I'm a terrible programmer. I'm really sorry what I did. I'm a bad robot. And like that, unfortunately, and this is real, when you're in a hype zone this great, but there's still real value, you have to be very risk oriented, and you have to tell the story of those failures to people who are really bought into the hype and just kind of watch their reaction. And that
But
might
look,
be the CEO.
AI sandboxes where you get to try stuff, learn, give it a shot, and then have a meeting and say, hey, look, we think this is really promising. We'd like to do some more research, is worth doing.
So we're just about at time, and we actually are kind of hitting it. So this is, man, the CEO is going to be disappointed. You probably won't need fewer people. You might need some different skills. You might be asking people to do more. But, you know, Rich, this last point was yours, and you should take it.
Yeah, I mean, look, AI is really great at tactical stuff, but the truth is, to use it well, you have to understand essentially, everyone got promoted into being editors, managers, auditors, senior software architects. Why? Because this junior, that puts out, incredible amounts of output, needs to be vetted and checked, and that is a reality.
The sort of coke-fueled intern.
Intern that is just off the rails needs to be kept on guardrails, right? And that means anything this thing produces should be eyeballed, checked, vetted, because it is very, very subtle in terms of where the errors are, because it'll sound credible. You'll ask it to pull up a spec on a product, and it'll actually get it wrong very confidently.
Think about a future state, right? Where what is your job? Well, I work with these tools. First of all, I have some skills that have nothing to do with AI. I went to law school, or I'm a computer programmer. Sometimes I use AI, and I write specifications that are really clear and useful, and I show them to the team, and we check them into version control so that we can make them better over time. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty good at knowing where it's going to screw up. And some of that we can't control. And so I have put these guardrails in where we always check the output these ways.
Yeah.
Okay. Once it sort of gets the stamp like approved by programmer 35, it goes to the next phase in the cycle where it builds the software or it does whatever, right? Being able to narrate that and tell that story, that's a new skill. That doesn't exist in the world. You're going to have to build it with your people. But I think it's going to get more and more common. You're going to be looking for it.
Yeah. And look, you should still gain time back, even if you have to vet everything. You're still going to it's still faster than doing the research yourself, but you got to read what it created and what it produced and vet it and confirm everything.
And we're talking to a lot of orgs. Everyone is in on this. There are a certain group of people who are like, I absolutely hate this technology and I want it to go away. And I have enormous amount of sympathy for them. But it is not going to go away. It won't go back in the box. And we're also in a really tricky position because we're in that hype cycle, but it's also useful. And so you're hearing a lot of promises. And, you used to hear that it was going to become full artificial intelligence. Now you're hearing different things. But the reality is, like, this is our normal. We're in it, you're in it, like you're here because of it. And I think just like accepting that people are have a lot of empathy. Actually have empathy for your CEO, which no one will ever say. But the reality is, like, they're getting the same signal. They're being told that if they don't address this and stomp their feet, risks will go up in their organization. And they're actually probably scared. And so They have one version of normal, so on and so forth. The only real way to figure this stuff out is to use it and to understand what it really does. There is no article or conference that can kind of unlock it for you. And the last thing, I think this is our last point before we get to questions, is we've been talking about orienting your team or yourself or so on, or others, like reward success, right? Like people don't drop this onto people, tell them that they have to figure it out, and then wander away.
Is that a crown?
It's a golden laurel.
I don't know what that is.
It's, they would put it on the poets.
Oh.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's classy.
I think it's a modern Greek version of a classic laurel. It's a lot of Wikipedia Commons was used. I would like to thank and give a shout out to Wikipedia Commons. But you can I sort of lost my thread there.
I'm sorry.
No, it's
I
okay.
apologize.
No, it's fine.
Reward
It's fine.
success.
Yeah, I mean, literally, like blue ribbons and good jobs. Because I think there's this real tendency now, it's partnered with the anxiety about the change, to drop this stuff into an org, expect good results, take them for granted, and give all the credit to the robot.
Yeah.
And don't let that happen.
Yeah.
Keep the focus back on the humans doing the good work, so that they then share the good work with others and you find more success. Like I know that's very trivial kind of management 101 stuff, but I actually think this technology, compared to many others, can really distract you from telling people they did a good job because it looks like
they didn't. They just sat back. And yeah.
And this is partnered to accepting failure and so on and so forth. Like we tend to, when the robot does a good job, we say, "Good job, robot."
Yeah.
And we forget that somebody was holding its hand the whole time. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for your attention. This was our inaugural webinar. We've never done one before. And it seems to have gone okay.
You went 5 minutes over, but that's okay.
That's because I'm drunk. And now we're going to do questions. So the question process involves Gabe, who you can't see, but is very handsome, putting little things up on the screen. He's right there, so it's all very awkward. Like he's commuting with the screen right there, but he's right there, but we can't see the questions until he puts them up. And so we're just going to look at the word questions together, and maybe I'll hum a little song.
You did good, Paul. You did real good. You drove this one.
Is there any good music lately? While we're waiting,
it's a lot of good music. It's always good music.
What are you into? For people who don't know, Rich is the most Discover Weekly human being I know. Oh, okay. We'll get back to me.
Forget me.
I'm going to read it. I have non-technical employees vibe coding apps. Uh-oh. Sometimes they work, yeah, but mostly they don't. Oh, no, it went away before I could finish it. Gabe, how do I get what's good out of AI without dealing with the bad?
Very tricky one.
This is hard. This is literally the work of a year to get a good plan.
Let's be practical here. This was an incredibly philosophical webinar. Let's be practical.
That was a combination of horrible words.
Let's lay out a ground rule. If you are in a business that has systems, meaning CRM or some place where you're storing documents or whatever, don't let any vibe coding tools touch those systems. If you build a good tool for your own desktop that's on your laptop that helps you do something better, great, right? I think the ambitious employee that's aspiring to build a vibe coding tool that looks good and should plug into your business infrastructure, I would be extremely wary about that. Encourage people to build tools that make it, that summarize, long emails or
vibe coding is it's good for exploring things that are slightly off to the side. So I could it'd be great for exploring data visualizations. I have this API I'd like to access, and I would like to put up some cool charts based on our interactive charting library, and I'd like to explore those charts. That's complicated. That used to be weeks or months of work, or you'd have to buy a specific product and adapt it. You could do a pretty credible job with that vibe coding.
And you could, good or bad, sandboxing and letting people play is a good thing because you may learn some things from it. If you decide that something should graduate into your infrastructure, you have to go through a more normal, rigorous process.
But to close that out, your problem is very common. We've experienced it as well. Huge pull requests come in. People have solved a problem with vibe coding, it has enormous gaps, and then you end up at the end of the conversation, at the end of the process, realizing you kind of need to throw the whole thing away. And it's ugly and it feels bad because they kind of solved it,
Yeah.
but it's not going to fit with the core platform. The thing I would like, one of the reasons Google has trouble acquiring companies is that when they acquire them, they have to go live in the Google data infrastructure. Like that they use
There's a
their
particular way of working, which is good for companies at that scale. It's good for any company.
But they can't buy, because no one works that way. So they just go ahead and rebuild everything.
Short
right?
answer: establish criteria for success, so that when people come to you with the toys they created, you apply. You run down that list. You have to run down that list. It has to be in the context of your business. Bad is probably you probably meant broken, but it could even be good but not very useful to your business. Establish criteria for success.
Gabe, we have 8 minutes. Is it time for 3 minutes of uncomfortable silence, or do we have more questions? Stakeholders, Susan. Hello, Susan. Stakeholders can experience an epic fail if your stories don't fly, like not running formative UX research with humans. Boom.
True.
Yep.
I mean, we haven't talked about AI in design. AI will design. AI will do anything.
Oh, it actually likes designing.
It likes designing, right? And
Just like every bureaucratic boss, it kind of likes to get in there and just, I'll fix it up.
grabs the pencil,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And obviously, just because it did produce some designs doesn't mean they're going to be very useful or make any sense even. So there's that.
You know who did? You know what's interesting is our friend Michael McWaters just wrote a big piece for. It's on Medium. You can find it, and this is a very, very senior designer. He works at Discovery at HBO, and he wrote a lot about like doing a 3-hour vibe coding session, and he built a product. But the product was a prototype, and it was informed by himself as a designer, and he really kind of knew the parameters of it, right?
Yeah.
He was able to just communicate so much more.
Sure.
And
It's
so,
artifact.
So, like, that's a positive way of using it, but the artifact is disposable. Like, he's not.
Yeah.
He knew that he'd have to go back and do the real work.
Absolutely.
But it's also, he didn't have to orchestrate everything in Figma, which is exhausting and huge.
Yes.
So.
We've got time.
Perry. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Hey, Perry, here's a coin flip. Are vertical versus horizontal AI solutions going to win? Well, I have a really strong opinion here. What do you think?
I assume by vertical, Perry means specialized.
Yeah, industry specific.
I think vertical is absolutely going to win.
I mean, is it all going through enterprise IT, or will line of business managers lead? Who's buying? So far, it's like all over the place because so much of it you can get with a credit card, or so much of it you can, there are very few products that you can kind of just buy enterprise wide and deploy in a strategic, consistent way. I think if you're a law firm, you can mess with Harvey. Like, there's some that are specific. Here's my take. My take is actually vertical solutions must emerge because LLMs are bad at finishing things, and you need to add a lot of orchestration and product on top of the core LLM technology in order to deliver anything a business can really use on a day-to-day basis. Not just business, NGO, CBO, like anything, government work. So LLMs, and you're actually seeing this. You're seeing like OpenAI or Anthropic. Like OpenAI has Sora for video, et cetera, but it also recently launched Codex, which is their coding tool. It's really good if you use it. It actually has a very opinionated onboarding. It connects to your GitHub. You bring in some random repository. It suggests bugs. It shows you how it's going to fix them. It issues a pull request, and then you decide if you're going to bring it in or not. And so it sets up the parameters of the relationship. It describes what it's going to do. It does it, and it's good overall. Like if you know the limits of this technology, what you see is people working within it to build product, which is what product is about. And so,
But IT isn't buying that. Engineers buy it.
Engineers
and
buy
they're messing
it.
around.
I do think IT will buy that in the same way that IT buys Copilot for their devs.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way I would answer Perry's question is both. I think a lot of today's presentation was about letting people play in sandboxes and finding value there. I think eventually, we're still too early, but eventually there will be solutions that are sold to the corner office, to the CIOs that apply company-wide. I don't think we're there yet just because I think people are still anxious about this stuff. Also, there aren't a lot of products at that scale just yet, other than agents. We went through this whole webinar without saying the word agent.
I literally made that a point when I did the deck.
No kidding.
I decided not to.
Well, now look at us. We've said it.
It's okay. It's okay. Get the word out.
All right.
The lack of Peter Coakley, the lack of platforms for collaborating. I can't remember if it's either Coakley or Coachley. Damn it, you're going to tell me, Peter. The lack of platforms for collaborating on vibe-coded things and jamming on little tools together is a huge obstacle. Feels like it leads to all of us in single-player mode. How can we create SPA? And we can create a SPA, Peter. We can get together and we can get like a nice
cucumber
water.
Yeah.
Back to Joe. Gabe, what's happening?
Let's speak to Peter for a second. Yeah. Okay. Single-player mode is a great way to put it. Companies use software collaboratively and collectively, and these tools they can't wrap their head. The vibe coding tools today do not wrap their heads around enterprise scale. That's just fact.
They also hate it.
And they kind of hate it.
They hate it. Like, there's no way Lovable wants to go into the same rooms that Salesforce goes into.
And
These are like young Nordics.
Let's pretend
they
want
to go to the spa.
So do I.
Yeah, we all do.
How do you create space to create larger scale things? That is where we're in the middle of the movie right now. No one's done that. No one has been able to do that. You can create processes to simulate that through tools like GitHub and whatnot if you're working together.
No, look, we're working on it. It's super duper hard.
It's super hard.
You got these things that spit out nonsense, randomly interacting with your data and your structures, and now you have humans using them together to collectively manipulate things. So
it's very hard.
You could version everything and so on, but there's no that the reason you don't have it yet is it's going to just really, really take a while.
It's going to take a minute.
And it's a really good point, though, because I just don't think large orgs, they don't want everybody in a single box working on one thing alone.
Correct.
And so
I think we have time for that last question, Gabe.
Yeah. Jody, a lot of what I'm working on involves complicated business processes. Yeah. Clients have been burned by poorly implemented, if at all, robotic process RPA, robotic process automation. Are you helping anyone with complicated I'm going to assume that says worship programs where we go to churches?
Yeah.
Complicated workflow process.
Yeah. Do you want me to take that?
It's nice when you talk.
Oh, shucks. Thank you. How do you help? You sit down with the other person and you learn about their processes, and then these tools are further downstream. I think
give them the gift of complaining about RPA for 2 hours.
Yeah, the truth
all anybody wants to do.
The truth is automating. Business is grisly. Business is just even small to medium-sized businesses have bespoke.
The whole fantasy of business is that you can automate the humans out of it, and then it always is. It's a human process where the fantasy and the driving religion is that somehow it's not a human process, and everybody just lives in that chasm.
And let's close it with this: the truth is, we haven't talked about product management, solution engineers, strategic consultants. These are the people that really serve as translators of how the business works, so that you can come up with a spec. Back to what we talked about earlier, that then feeds the work going forward. And that work, to date, in the history of software, fed teams. Spec feeds teams. Now, spec can help feed these machines that can help us move more quickly on execution. It's still very human-driven in the beginning of the process. So.
Oh, and then the outputs, too, also end up, the thing I want to close on is these outputs only have meaning because they're being produced by sort of these automated processes. They only have meaning if they're brought back into the organization for the long haul.
Yes.
It's fun to make a picture of a hippo in a hat. I do it every single morning when I wake up.
It's fun.
But you can't, it only matters if you're going to kind of stick with it and do stuff with it. And it creates so much stuff that it's really easy to forget. Anyway, along the way, what we learned is it was people that matter.
Man, let's go to a spa.
With Peter.
Peter, we'll meet you there.
We'll meet you at the spa.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us
on our eyes.
for this webinar.
We did it. We webinared.
We might webinar again sometime soon. Check us. We have a podcast.
God, it's worse as a verb.
Podcast. Webinard.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Hello@aboard.com if you want to talk to us. Everyone knows how to reach us. It's pretty easy. Try the site. Make a demo app. Let us know what you think. And we really are open. If you want to, we like to teach and talk. We can get more technical or less. If you want us to do this again,
Let us know.
Let us know. We'll adapt our content for the audience. And now I'm going to click the little hang up button, and we're going to ascend
To the spa.
to the spa.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.